There's recently been a conversation about World of Warcraft and early access. And the thumbnail here, of course, says Blizzard hates poor players. This seems to be true.
Hey, what's good, gamers? Ackle here, of course. Welcome back to each and every one of you. Now, this video is going to be literally just a talking head video. Maybe I'll have some stuff on the screen just so you don't have to look at my ugly mug the whole time. But for the most part, it is just going to be talking head. Now, the thing I'm going to talk about today is a lesson in what not to do from an optics standpoint. You'll understand in a very second what we're actually talking about and what I'm referring to, but it is something that bears discussing, and that is...
I hope that this is the truth, is that his video, my video reacting to his video, 6 tweets that get 1,000 likes, the Blizzard executives aren't going to watch and look at those tweets and say, guys, you know what? Let's not do this next time.
Why we are
It's just not going to happen.
Now, World of Warcraft, The War Within, launched a few days ago, depending on how you want to count it.
Yeah.
People like to use the word early access to say that it launched last Friday.
It's late access.
I don't like the word early access because it's not early access. Early access would suggest that the game was set to launch at a specific point and you decided to allow people to play earlier, which is not what you did. The game launched last Friday and everyone else had to wait an extra couple of days in order to actually play the game.
Naturally.
3 or 4 days that everyone else had to wait in order to actually play the game. So fundamentally, there is no such thing as early access. I want to get that out of the way as soon as possible.
Well, usually early access, like there is early access. Like early access is the beta. That's what early access for the expansion is. It's the beta for the expansion.
Early access doesn't make any sense. If the game is fully playable and you launch the game technically to everyone, then that's not early access. Early access on Steam has a specific meaning. It means that the game is in early access, which means the game is not yet complete.
That's right.
Look at Baldur's Gate 3, for example.
Yes.
It launched for years into early access, and all you had access to was Chapter 1. And there were many changes that was made to Chapter 1, and they used the feedback from Chapter 1 in order to inform decisions that they were going to make in Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. So that's what early access is. It's basically just a nice word of saying beta. Right?
Yeah.
Now, World of Warcraft had a full-fledged alpha, a full-fledged beta, and then an early access. But the early access was quite legitimately just people who were willing to buy the deluxe edition.
Well, it's like, I think that this is a WoW player thing because like, and maybe this is WoW players, it's like their first dose of reality. But like outside of like World of Warcraft, like, culture, this has been popular for like 5 years. And the issue is that it's such free money that like if you're a company, are you really going to throw this away? Are you really not going to, like if you're Ubisoft, are you really not going to charge your stupid whales $40 to play your game 3 days early? It seems like such an easy way to make money. Why wouldn't you do it?
Pre-order it. They would get 3 days of soon play, right? Or playing before everyone else. Or, as I would like to call it, played when the game went live. Because the game was live last week Friday. Now, it is a semantical discussion, I think, as much as it is anything.
It's not a semantical discussion at all. Blizzard just let people pay extra money to play the game early. It's the way it goes in a lot of games. Lost Ark did this. I don't think New World did it. Hogwarts Legacy did this. Star Wars Outlaws did this. The new Assassin's Creed game is going to do that. This is the industry standard now. And the reason why it's an industry standard is because consumers have, as a collective, accepted it as normal, and they will not get upset about it. Starfield did it. Yeah, it's because it works. They wouldn't do this if it didn't work. Brighter Shores isn't doing it. They just released a game on 5th of November. Yeah, there are certain games that aren't doing it, but many are. Elden Ring didn't do it, for example.
Else, but the idea that it is early access, I think, does a lot of damage to the concept of early access. And before people go, dude, almost every game has done this before. Yes, for pre-orders. And I have reluctantly learned to accept that early access or proper access to the game is included in pre-order. And it also, even to some extent, kind of makes sense to me that you would reward people who is willing to put their faith and trust into you by buying the game before they've even been able to see any reviews on the game, that you would reward them with a few early days of being able to play the game.
Right,
you know?
yeah, of course. And that's the way that you can look at it. There's always ways that you can contextualize things like this that make it more favorable for the developer. Like, if I was a developer and I was making a game that I knew was, like, super highly anticipated and I knew I could get money for people to play early access, I would immediately do it.
There's nothing wrong with that. This is, at least as far as I can tell, I've looked, I'm not able to find any other example of a game doing this, where a company decides to attach early access not to the pre-order, but to the pre-order of the deluxe edition. So in other words, the greed on top of the greed, there is more greed. Now, I want to start...
I mean, I would say that Ubisoft did it. So if you look at it right here, you get the deluxe edition, you get 3-day early access with the standard versus gold edition. You have to buy the expensive edition of the game in order to play the game early. Now, I'm not sure if Diablo 4 did this as well. I don't remember, but like that's an immediate example. Arguing meant the first for an online game. Well, I mean, Diablo 4 is an online game. It's not an MMO, but it's like an MMO light, right? I mean, you've got like other people you play with. There's like leaderboards and like shared like player progression. Like, I don't know. So like it was the $100 Diablo 4 thing. Yeah, I don't remember exactly. Like it was a while ago. But yeah, Dawn Trail did it as well. Yeah, no, this is what he's saying is that there's a distinction between like just pre-ordering and pre-ordering with deluxe edition. And this is a goalpost shift that companies have conditioned the shit eaters into eating. And the truth is that the shit eaters are still hungry. They still want more of it.
Off by saying right off the bat, the game itself is brilliant. I am having the time of my life playing The War Within. The problem is this: it's divided the community to a major extent, not just in terms of how the community feels about it, but also just physically have divided the community. Because as you can imagine, not everyone has the money to buy a digital deluxe edition. It is quite a lot more expensive than the base version of the game.
Especially nowadays.
And for many people, they play this game because they can't afford to do anything else. This is their only bit of entertainment.
That's right.
You know, you have students that's playing this game, although these days, rarely. But you have people that this is what they can afford and this is what they play. So they obviously couldn't get into it. The early access people were very happy. They got to play from last week Friday, and everything was going swimmingly well.
And it's always designed in a way that the early access period overlaps with a weekend and the normal access period overlaps with a weekday. So that way it's like early access begins on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? So like you can play and take those days off. But like if you play on the actual release of the game, well then now it starts on Tuesday. Yeah, it's tactically done that way, and it's done that way every single time in order to make early access. It's like a soft advantage that early access has that you can play it on the weekend. You bought it? Of course I did. Yeah, of course I bought it. Yeah, I am past the point in my life where I'm going to fight against bad game practices. I'm not a crusader. I'm not a revolutionary. I just want to play video games and make funny videos, and if I care about something, I'll do it. If not, I don't do it. I don't care about it. It's not important to me. Like, I used to have a lot of energy that I would invest into, like, different, like, little social issues or problems that I had in my life. And I spent many years doing that, and I have nothing to show for it. Literally nothing. There's been no benefit to my life. It's been pointless, and all it's done is make me mad. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's something that happens when you get older. Maybe it's something that happens after you've been disappointed a certain amount of times. It's hard to really say why the reasoning is. But all I'm saying is that is the reasoning. That's the reason why I just don't really give a shit anymore. Space Marine 2 is doing it? Yeah, of course.
Till yesterday.
Yeah.
Actually, a little bit more the day before yesterday. So literally on the day that the game was now officially launching for the poor people.
Right.
So the first thing that happened was you had all of the early access players
citizens
starting to make jokes about happy launch day poor people.
Yes.
Right. So I don't care about this because I did not buy the early access because I can't afford to buy the digital deluxe edition.
Yeah.
I don't buy digital deluxe editions of video games. Just as a rule, I will
it's
not.
Just stupid. Yeah, of course, I get it. And like, I think this is really the truth is that a lot of the people that aren't buying, like, I like memeing. We all love memeing. But let's just for a second be serious here. Most of the guys that are playing WoW nowadays are like 30. They can spend $40 to play the expansion early. They've got a decent job at that point. Like, you're 30 years old. Yeah, you're 40. You probably got a decent job. Yeah, you can't spend $30 or $40. Of course you can do that. So a lot of the people that didn't buy it just simply because they thought it was dumb or they didn't want to. You see what I'm saying? Like, so it's not even like it's not even like we meme about it a lot, but the truth is, like, most people didn't buy it just because they're like, oh, that's dumb. I'll just play it whenever it comes out.
So, yeah, for me, it was just an absolute no. I'm not getting in on this. But, of course, for many people, it was a monetary thing. And the player base was making a lot of fun of the poor people playing. So this already is optically a very, very bad look.
Well, it's a good look, actually. Because one thing that poor people hate is to be reminded that they're poor. And this is why they spend so much money on luxury goods. That's why they waste all of their money on designer clothes, because it tells other poor people that they're not poor, and it tells other rich people that they are poor. But because they're stupid and they don't understand that, and the only people that they're around are other poor people, then they think that they're ballin', but in fact, they're actually just looking like clowns. So that's really what happens. Like, if you go to, like, for example, if you go to like any event where there's a lot of people that make a lot of money, right? Like I've been to a few events like this. Yeah, you're going to have some people that might have like a designer shirt on or something like that. But many of these people are just dressed like normal people. They're not showing up and showing out with like Gucci on their wrist, or not Gucci on their wrist, on their fucking, on their shoes and like, all this stuff. Yeah. Adam Sandler. Yeah. Like, this dude's worth probably hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, they're actually really not dressing like that. And also for a lot of guys, like, think about it, right? If you're a guy and you're worth $150 million, let's say you're worth $150 million. Do you want people to know that? That are next to you in a line? Do you want people to know that? No. So think about it from their perspective.
The fact that Blizzard themselves seemingly forgot that this was early access. Literally from the moment the game launched for the rich people, I guess you could say.
Yes.
World of Warcraft Twitter was just spoiling everything. They were posting every single cinematic. They were posting every single spoiler to everything. Absolutely. I had to unfollow World of Warcraft on Twitter so that I wouldn't be spoiled. Because apparently Blizzard didn't get the message that this is supposed to be early access.
Well, it's early access for people who deserve it. But like, if you don't pay the money, then you just get the story spoiled anyway, right? And so that's what makes sense. Total bullshit. You're talking about streamer events. You go to an investment convention, you won't see one person dressed like you. No, and you're right. But like, what I'm saying is that, so like, I went to, oh my God, there was this one event I went to in California, and it was like one of these events. It was like an industry event, and there were a lot of people that were like that. And what I'm saying is that the clothes and the brands that they wear are not the clothes and the brands that people that go to clubs downtown wear. It's not that they don't wear expensive clothes. In a lot of cases, they might have a nice t-shirt on, but it doesn't have Gucci plastered all over it. That's the point that I'm making. I'm not talking about like some fucking streamer event. That's totally different.
Most people will not be playing it. Now is not the time to spoil everything. But hey, content is content and content is king. So, it is what it is. But then to make matters worse, you had the player base, some of the rich players. I hate saying that, but that is technically what they've called themselves now. Some of the rich players, and by the way, I know a couple of people that bought early access that are not rich at all. They really put themselves in dire straits to get.
Oh, this is what people do, right? And this is the funny thing about almost all types of luxury goods, is most like mid-tier luxury goods are like, I think that the best example and the best point on a graph for this is the fact that, do you remember the Faker $500 skin and like package from League of Legends? Somebody said there was a guy that ran a website for like selling Riot Points third party, and they said that about 20% of people were buying the Riot Points in order to purchase this thing on time. They were buying it in installments. They didn't have the money to pay up front, so they had to do this. This is like they're taking out like basically debt for this. Going into debt to go to Disneyland, it's worse because at least you go to Disneyland. This is going into debt for a pixel, for a video game. That's it. No thanks. Yeah, so it's actually a lot of people like that are like really bad at spending money that lose all of their money. Like, yeah, you have the oil princes and the, you know, investment bankers that are making tons of money. And yeah, of course, that's not a big deal. But you also have a lot of the people that are just addicted to spending money. And guys, I know people might not like to hear this because it's too real, but a lot of the people that are poor and are broke, one of the reasons for that is because they're bad at making financial decisions. Like, for example, spending $40 extra to play a video game 3 days early. Yeah. Yeah.
Early access because they're addicted to the game, but never mind.
That's right. Yeah.
That is
they
by
can't,
design.
They can't miss out.
But anyway,
they don't want to get behind.
To make a long story short, the player base started making groups where they would literally say killing poor boys.
That's
and
right.
It would just be these raid groups that go around killing all of the people that are now for the first time leveling.
Yes.
So basically you had the early access crowd making the game unbearable for the people that were playing on the actual launch day. Now, personally, I think Blizzard should absolutely ban all of these players that participated in these activities.
I do too. And that's why then they'll learn their lesson and they'll buy the early access next time. Because all the people who were too cheap to buy the early access that were getting killed, they still did get to play the game, but they were playing it in the cheap way. So I do think Blizzard should ban the people that were involved. They should get rid of all those guys. Because, like, listen, inflation is higher. It's stuff like that. I mean, you're sitting there and you can't pay to play the game 3 days early. Come on. Just turn war mode off. Oh, no. By the way, I'm obviously memeing about this. Nobody should get banned for killing those players. Absolutely not. Because they have war mode turned on. And Blizzard engineered this situation. Why should Blizzard punish players for the players doing something that Blizzard created? You can't give somebody a gun and then be like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to lock you in a room with somebody. And then, oh my God, I can't believe that you shot them. At a certain point, you gave them the gun. You created the environment for this situation to occur. And guess what? It happens. You give a kid a fork in an empty room and there's a light socket in the room. The kid's going to put the fork in the light socket. That's what's going to happen. The developers are God. You have to understand this, right? They design the entire world and the physics of the world. They design how everything works, how you can and can't talk to each other. They are God. And so if something bad happens in the game, the last thing that you should do is punish players.
Because fundamentally what you've done is Blizzard themselves made the game worse as a result of the two-tier release system.
They did.
Because that's not how MMOs are supposed to be played.
Yes.
Right? And then the player base is making it unlivable, right? They're making everyone else's normal launch day just unbearable as a result of the decisions that Blizzard took. But then
now, in a perfect world, this happens in Mists of Pandaria Classic because it was probably, I think this was probably profitable enough. If they do this for Mists of Pandaria Classic and you can play the game early, it's going to be way better. because you can get flying at level 90 and you can't fly before level 90. So we'll be able to kill the level 81s or like the level 85s and 86s in Jade Forest, and they actually won't be able to level because they can't turn off war mode. Because like in retail, you just turn off war mode, problem solved, right? It's not a big deal. But in classic WoW, I do think that you could actually have a situation where a turtle just doesn't make it to the water because there's not as much phasing there. Would you assume this is purely for profit or reducing service drain as a component? There's probably, so profit is the main reason, and there are advantages that exist beyond that. So like, for example, getting the extra, like not having to worry about server capacity and having it spaced out is definitely a positive and a benefit on Blizzard's side, but that's not the real reason why they're doing it. The real reason is for money. The profit is a secondary, like serendipitous outcome.
Get a lot worse, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to say this.
It is.
It is true.
It's going to get
Things got a lot worse.
Yeah.
On Monday afternoon, Blizzard announced something. They put out a blue post. And in the blue post, they announced that they're making leveling harder.
That's right.
Because players are leveling too fast.
Exactly.
It's too easy.
Yes.
There's too many people just speed running the leveling. So they're making mobs harder at low level, making it more difficult to kill things at low level, and slowing the questing experience way down for all of the poor folk.
Yeah, because like at that point, like they wouldn't have had time to like level because it was like one day after it happened.
Now, I want to be clear. If we're being honest, this was not a decision by Blizzard to punish the early access players. Of course not. I don't think Blizzard is that petty. I don't think Blizzard would do that. This was
No, they're not. But I think that if they did, it would be funny.
Genuinely a concern. If you go and look at what happened at, sort of from level 76, 77, players were eventually running around literally one-shotting mobs. You couldn't even do a half a rotation. And it started to become very difficult for other people to level because you wouldn't be able to tag things even. If someone tagged something, it was done, right? So it just created this weird sort of crazy thing where the scaling felt completely off. Going into dungeons with low-level players, the low-level players would out-damage the max-level players by...
This has been going on, by the way, ever since they introduced level scaling. This has been a problem for literally, like, the better part of 10 years at this point. Do you think they even know their audience? Of course they do. That's why they put out early access. You see, WoW players at this point, like, WoW used to have a community of people that were more... Like, it was, like, harder to take advantage of the community, I think, back in the day. But now, because WoW has alienated a lot of those people and people have become increasingly more invested into the game, what's ended up happening is that they've accepted certain different parts of gaming as just being normalized, right? And so they've effectively, it's like you're distilling down a fan base into a group of people that will accept almost anything. And it's kind of like how like some streamers are like really popular and then like they go crazy or they fall off the deep end and then they lose a lot of popularity, but they still have like this core audience that's like hyper dedicated to them and like almost like a cult. Have you guys seen this happen before? Right. And so like this kind of like this is it's not a direct metaphor to like how Warcraft is, but it's similar to that.
Miles. So it was a mess of just balancing problems, which you kind of wanted to ask, why was this not caught in early access? That's the whole point of early access. That's why it's called early access, is to, find the bugs and fix them.
Yeah.
But no, it was the day of the official launch of the game that Blizzard decided.
Well, let's not even talk about early access. They had months to figure this out in beta because everybody was leveling in beta and in the alpha. But this problem just seemingly happened like the day after the real release of the game. Come on.
Do this. So optically, what does this look like? And this is why I said this video is a video on optics. It's to tell Blizzard, dude, this is not how you do this. Because from the player's perspective...
I think it is. If I was Blizzard, I think that they made the right call. Because now, next time that people buy early access, there's going to be the added incentive that there could be an unknown advantage that you could be taking advantage of if you get early access. So I bet this change will actually get more people to buy early access in the future, because now they think that they can get an advantage by being able to do it. Yeah, it's the fear of missing out. Exactly.
Of what does this actually look like?
Oops, FOMO.
It looks like Blizzard punishing the players who refuse to give them more money.
Yes.
That is what it looks like. Dead insane.
It does.
And you can't get around this, even though I know for a fact that that is not what Blizzard did. And I've tried to explain this to people. There are just people that goes, no. This is Blizzard basically saying, if in future you don't buy early access, we're going to do this game. We're going to punish you even harsher.
And that's what they will do. And I guarantee you that's what they'll do, because that's the smart thing to do. Because you want to create a reason for people to buy the early access. Because if the value add isn't there, then people aren't going to buy it. So you create the value add, and then you do it in a very soft way. Stockholm Syndrome? Yeah, just buy early access. Easy. The thing is, like, this is the community and fan base that's been conditioned into believing that buying a video game, buying an expansion, paying a sub is all still not enough, and the game still needs to augment itself by selling pets, selling transmog, selling transfers at like $25 a pop, selling name changes for $20, selling server changes for I don't know if I said that before, but like, guild name changes, selling gold, selling pets, selling toys. Like, they're selling everything in this game now. Like, at this point, why would they not accept early access? They've accepted everything else. Like, there is basically no game out there that is monetized in the same way that WoW is. Like, even Final Fantasy XIV, you can't really buy gold in Final Fantasy XIV. I'm sure there's like ways that you can like get maybe a little bit extra if you purchase some sort of package or something like that. But like, you can't just go and directly spend real money and then get gold directly. Yes, you can. How can you? Buy dyes? You can't buy gold. So, okay, so then you can't buy gold. Just buy dyes and sell them. Okay, so then you can't do it, right? Okay, so that's what I thought. And anyway, so yeah, you can't buy gold in that game. And there's also, like, there's not the same carry culture that there is in WoW. Not directly? Yeah. You can't sell dyes, Keck. Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, like, yeah, you can't do it. So WoW is actually unique and special in how many different ways that you're able to like pay money and spend money in the game. It's crazy.
You better give us more money,
That's right.
The early access or else. And I can't blame them for feeling like that, because right up until from the moment of the official launch, it has felt as if those players who could not afford early access have been the butt of the joke.
They are.
And to me,
There's nothing that middle-class people hate more than poor people. There's nothing that people that are poor, that are self-conscious, hate more than themselves. So if you ever give a poor person the ability to make fun of another poor person, they will do it all day. Because this finally gives them the opportunity to feel like the way that they think they deserve. That's the reason why. Not wanting to pay equals can't afford. But that's the way that a dumb person looks at it, though, right? You see what I'm saying? That's exactly it. Even poor people want to hit down on the ladder? Yeah, exactly. Well, they want to hit down on the ladder even more, because they know that they're on the bottom of the ladder. They know that people are shitting on them. They know that they're at the bottom of the totem pole. They're not the apex predator. They're sitting there and they're losers. And so guess what they're going to do? They're going to do everything that they can to find somebody else out there that's a bigger loser than they are. That's why. Maybe they aren't poor because they don't spend money foolishly. It's probably both in a lot of cases.
Disgusting. That is just something that is not on. And if you are one of the players that are rich, even though I know many of you,
yes,
you are not rich. You made very, very poor financial decisions to buy the early access. But if you are one of those people, be gracious. Be gracious. Allow the other people to play the game. Don't be an asshole. What is wrong with you?
Well, it's simple. It's because people have the ability to do it, and they usually don't. Most people most people want to be able to flaunt power. It's just that they don't have the means to do so. So, like, if they could do it, they would do it. But because they can't do it, they have to sit there and wait. So when you give them the opportunity to do it, they're going to make up for lost time. Absolutely. What? Help your guildmate? Fuck the rest? Yeah, well, that's not really, it's called having issues. Yeah, well, that's just how it is. And documentaries and people spend their entire life being whales and gotchas even though they're not rich. Well, yeah, it's because that's just how people are.
You're taking a very bad situation, granted, that Blizzard created.
Yes.
And you're making it worse.
That's right.
Why would you do this? Are you actively trying to chase people out of the game?
Yes. Yes. Yes, I think... So, this is my perspective as, again, the asshole. If I can make people feel bad for not spending money on early access, then that will make them feel bad about early access. Absolutely. It's the same reason why people constantly mauled about like gacha games and they shit on gacha games, even though the gacha games in some cases are good. It's because they don't like it off of principle. So the idea is to create a very bad, negative, toxic environment in order to have a correlation that this type of behavior creates this environment. And you have to behave like this. When you're in a circus, you might as well act like a clown. That's why people teabag on shooters. Yeah, exactly. Nothing wrong. No, it's not that I'm doing something wrong. And to be honest, like, I don't want anybody to think, you know, again, I hate to act like I'm some kind of moral crusader. I hate people that are like that. So the main reason I do things like that is because I think it's funny, right? That's the main reason. But there are secondary reasons, like, you know, for example, if you talk about this and you add in a degree of like funniness to it, it definitely makes people think twice about the decisions that they're making, and it makes them feel a little bit dumber for what they're doing with their time. So that's the reason why. And I think creating a negative environment for something like this is something that I wish more players would do. But people are just not willing to do it because it involves being mean. Because, like, for example, spitting on people with store mounts. Do you want to know what's really funny about spitting on people with store mounts? It worked. It actually worked, and I can tell you how I know that. Because in the Burning Crusade client, they took /spit out of the game before they took the hard R inward out of the game. They wouldn't have taken it out if it wasn't working. And people can say, but that's mean. You're harassing them. Absolutely. That's the point. That was the whole point of it. It's not a good thing to do, though. Did the ends justify the means? No. And they took it out. And now I don't do it anymore because I don't want to get in trouble. I have to exist inside of the confines of the rules that are given to me. Like, I'm not I'm going to break the rules and then act indignant about it. No, I don't do that. I figure out what the rules are, and then I figure out how to break them, or how to get around them. I don't actually, like, I'm not I broke the rules and now I'm mad that I'm getting in trouble for it.
You actively hoping that people will just no longer play World of Warcraft?
Yeah.
Because that is what your actions will garner.
Yes.
I don't understand this. I don't understand why.
Create such a negative environment for it that people realize how negative and bad early access is, that they ask and realize how just unethical and obnoxious it is for so many players. That's exactly it.
You can't just be gracious. I guess it's fine, you know, making fun of poor people, although I know many of you are left-wing. Like, don't fucking kid me. I lost many subscribers the day I came out as a centrist because you guys wanted me to be left-wing. The left is supposed to care about the poor people. Why are you attacking the poor people and making raid groups to slaughter the poor people that can't play the game?
Because it's funny. It's funny. And that's the problem. Is that good dude's crying? No, I mean, here's the problem. I really like Akalon. I do. I like him a lot. He's an authentic, good guy, and he brings up a lot of good points. And my perspective on things is usually the most misanthropic, maladjusted, deranged perspective that you can possibly have. But sometimes I'm right.
Really care about the poor people, or are you just saying that when it suits you? I don't know. It's a very weird situation, and Blizzard is not making it better by actually destroying destroying the leveling experience. Now, I'm going to be very honest here. It doesn't destroy the leveling experience. People should calm down. That's why I say this is a video on optics, because it is optically really a bad look, but it isn't. It's not noticeable. I have been leveling from the very moment the game went live right up until now, and I have not experienced any increase in difficulty, really. It's still the same thing. It's still fine. But again, it's optics, right? And optics matter.
And Blizzard did this. One of the most brilliant... This is like... I still stand in awe of the person who designed this. So in Diablo Immortal, one of the greatest games ever made, you had something called a crest system. Now, a crest system was something that you could empower rifts with. Now, what was a rift? A rift is like a map in Path of Exile, right? It's like just a dungeon you run in, you fill up the bar of killing the mobs, the boss spawns, you kill the boss. And each crest that you would put in would make the boss drop more legendary gems. So what ended up happening is that people would want to group up because this was the most efficient way to pool resources. But then certain people wouldn't be putting crests in because they wouldn't be spending money in the game. So Blizzard actually created a system where players would shame other players for not putting in their crests, because then those people were taking advantage of the money that they were spending. They were no cresters, right? Remember this? And then after that, you've created now a ecosystem where people are being punished and shamed for not whaling inside of a game. That's beautiful.
It does. So yeah, fundamentally, I just wanted to make this video because a lot of people asked me my opinion on this, and this is an opinion channel, so what can I do? Anyways, let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about the early access debacle as well as the stuff that Blizzard is doing. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below.
Yeah.
And then, ladies and gentlemen, as always, hit the like if you like, dislike if you didn't, and I'll see all of you in the next one.
I feel bad for the guy. I really do.
By unpopular.
The reason why I feel bad for him is because he's trying to be a good guy. He's trying to be a nice guy. But the truth is that, as I said, there's nothing that middle class and lower middle class people hate more than working class and poor people. That's always how it is. Every single fucking time. And I see it a lot. He's frustrated. You can tell. Yeah, you can. And I feel bad for the guy, but this is just the way the gaming industry is going to be. What if you don't really hate anybody? Well, I don't really hate them. I'm just saying it's funny that it's happening, right? And so, yeah. Why the poor people? Why hate poor people, though? Like, what does that accomplish? Well, what it does is it's self-validation. So it makes it to where you feel like you made the right decisions in life because you're not in that person's position. That's the reason why people do it. There's also a thing of the game, the crest for Soulbound can be sold in the auction house, Eternal Crest or something like that. Oh, yeah. No, I know there was like two. There was the Legendary Crest and like the Legendary Eternal Crest. I remember this. Privileged people crying, just fragile eagle? Yeah, but it's very popular. I don't want to think of it was money for most of us. Certainly wasn't for me. I was just annoyed by the concept of it. It's simply crazy to me that in the year 20th anniversary of WoW, the start of a new epic saga, yet the first time players can't jump into that experience together with friends and guilds unless they pay an extortion fee. How am I supposed to believe that Blizzard has any respect for the players after that? I think that honestly, the moment that players accepted store mounts is the moment that Blizzard, like MMO players, or not MMO, like WoW players lost any degree of credibility or like value of complaining. Like you can't complain anymore. And the WoW token was even worse. Like you're letting them sell you mounts in a game that you're paying a subscription for. You're letting them sell you gold in a game that you're paying a subscription for? No. Like, so at this point, I think that if you play the game, you deserve it. That's the way I see it. And I know it's mean to say that, but I think it's true. It's no hate here, but what's the difference between Stormouts, Transmogs, and Pets and the TCG that was introduced in TBC? Well, number one, the cost of that was dictated by the community and by supply and demand rather than Blizzard dictating the price themselves. But the other difference was there isn't one, and I hated both of them. And that's why I was glad that Blizzard was putting the TCG mounts on for Twitch drops, because it's good to see people that spent a bunch of money in the game get fucked over. So that's the reason why. And of course, you can be mad about it, but you just gave up? Yeah, I did give up. I gave up, and it was one of the best decisions that I ever made with my life. Maybe people complain because they want it to improve, constructive criticism. See, this is the delusion that some people have. You actually think, let me link the video, and this is like, I feel bad. You actually think that the Blizzard executives, the people that are making the financial decisions for the game, are going to look at a YouTube video and think to themselves, oh, wow, you know what? I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm gonna change my mind. I don't feel like, you know, like doing this. Like, we get so much negative feedback from the players. Very liberating thing I ever did. I have just as many hours as you. I don't regret it for a second. Yeah, exactly. Money talks, community doesn't. Well, let's think about it as like in terms of dollars and voting, right? If one person has $40 and they spend it, they just put 40 votes in. If you have $0 and you don't spend it, then you just put 0 votes in. And that's the reason why these systems are so popular, and that's why so many people do them. Blizzard, get it? All your streams these days are bitch and moans and shit. So let me go back. Let's look and see. So you're unhappy? Did you buy the early access? You didn't do it, did you? Because like if you bought early access, it's okay to admit it. This is a safe space. I mean, like, I bought it too. A lot of us bought early access. It's fine. You can do it. It's okay. Chatters ain't understanding. No, this is just somebody who's a more takes, really going after Joe Rogan bro audience. It isn't vertical. It's like 50 sets of stairs. This is the WoW expansion. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, this seems like a chronic disagreeer. He's a hate watcher. He is. It's sad to see somebody do this. It really is. You want to see something juicy a Jagex just did? They just released a player survey. The gist of it, are you willing to pay more for membership if you remove microtransactions? A week later, they released a news post saying that they're upping membership without removing microtransactions. Well, that's the reason why. And 3 years, that's just what you get. It's an annoying, obnoxious person, and that's, you know, that's the way it goes. And so 4 years of hate, yeah, I mean, somebody comes into my chat and is hostile regularly. I mean, that's what they're going to get. So yeah, what's the point in hate watching anyway? Well, they're just losers. I mean, there's no people like that can't waste their lives because their lives have no value to begin with, so it can't be wasted. See, this is the issue that like people on the internet have, is that they try to like turn something that's not existential into being existential. I want to play a video game. That's the end of the sentence. People don't care about what the game represents. They don't care. If they want to play the game, they'll play the game. That's it.